This episode was brought to you by Pentester Academy, the leader in online cybersecurity education. Join over 10,000 professionals from 90 countries to learn security online. I'm Marley Oxenholm, and I'm here at the Riscure North America headquarters today, and I'm sitting down with Jasper van Woudenberg, who is CTO of Riscure North America. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks, Marley.
So now tell me about what Riscure does.
So Riscure is a security test lab. So we do various things. We do testing itself of products. We do training, and we also sell tools for people to actually test their products themselves.
Okay, and so now tell me about all the different ways you test products.
Yeah, there's a few different ways. So it depends a bit on what the question is that we get from customers. So if it's a certification question, which basically means we have to check whether a device falls within a certain threat model, we test against that. So if it's a more free-form evaluation question, it can be everything from, try to hack this thing to a very specific question that we get. And then another thing it depends on is this a software product or a hardware product? So when we look at software, we obviously get source code. We start analyzing that source code. If it's a hardware product, we take it into our lab and we start attaching all our cool oscilloscopes, probes, etc. to it and see what we can get to.
Nice, okay. And now, what are some of the most common vulnerabilities you've seen in products that you've tested before?
Yeah, that also really depends on what we're looking at. So from our perspective, what you see for instance, in mobile payment applications, you know how you can go up to a payment terminal nowadays and tap with your mobile phone to pay. Well, in those kind of products, really what we're looking for are the payment keys properly protected? So can we get to them? So we see some issues around that sometimes. If you look at more the embedded device world, IoT world, we're still in the phase where we see a lot of kind of traditional buffer overflow type attacks, stack smashing, things like that need to be addressed really. What personally I find really cool is the attacks that you find when you look at more the architecture and design of a thing. And these are the attacks that you really come up with after you've been playing with a product for a while. And you kind of sit back in your hammock and you think about all the pieces that you've seen and how to put them together. Because sometimes it's not just a simple buffer overflow. It's like, hey, if I call this command to unlock something and then I call this other command, and maybe the third one gives me some access that I shouldn't have had. Those are more difficult to find. There's the more intricate ones that you also, your static code analysis tool isn't going to show up because you really need to understand the product in order to figure out what these kind of issues are.
Okay, and so I'm curious now, any examples of really careless vulnerabilities that you found in products?
I mean, careless, I don't like that word so much because usually what we see are customers do care. But just like anybody, they make mistakes, right?
Absolutely.
So, what you do see is just the really simple low-hanging fruit every now and then, especially if you have a customer who's just getting into this field or they were used to embedded programming and now all of a sudden they're connecting their device. They don't always understand security to the point that we do or commonly do. And you just see very basic mistakes happening there, which is unfortunate, but yeah, it's what we see sometimes. Okay,
and what about more of the sophisticated vulnerabilities that you've seen?
Yeah, so I was alluding to that in the previous answers already. So this is, of course, a bit of my personal interest, but it's the ones where you really got to put together some of the bits and pieces that you see in a product and then leverage that into not necessarily an exploit in the traditional sense. It's not always about buffer overflows. Those I really like.
Okay, and so now what is the next step or process that you would take once you found a vulnerability?
So a vulnerability, we're always working for a customer on their product. And it depends, again, if we're working in a certification case or an evaluation case. For the certification, we try to work with our customer so that they can fix it before the certificate gets submitted, let's say. And with the evaluation, it just depends on what the customer wants to do with that vulnerability themselves.
Okay. And so how do you decide what to test? Do the companies come to you?
Yeah, so companies come to us, yes, and they really want to know how's my product doing, and or can I get a certificate for this? In the certification case, it's usually pretty well defined by the certification schemes what you need to look at. So, for instance, if you're looking at a mobile payment application, they want to check, do a source code review of all the software. They want to make sure that things like anti-root detection, anti-emulation, those kind of things are all covered. Keys are well protected. When you look at more free-form evaluations, we really get different questions depending on let's say how much experience the customer already has with security. Sometimes we're working with a security team on their side, and they're just like, okay, we want to have this very specific question answered. Like, what's the side channel resistance of this particular crypto engine? Because we don't have the expertise there, but can you please figure out? Or sometimes it's like, my product needs to be secure, help. Yeah, and then you got to help them with threat modeling and figure out, okay, so when this goes into the field, what's going to be the threats out there, and then figure out what attacks you want to test for.
Okay.
So, various different clients and different approaches.
Okay. And now what types of corporations do you normally work with? Certain fields or all across the board?
We definitely have a very big presence in payment and in content protection. But we're getting a lot of questions, especially with the rise of IoT in automotive as well. Industrial IoT is an area that we're looking at. So it's getting broader, which I like.
Okay. And so now, based off your years of experience, how would you say that the threat landscape has changed over the past decade or so?
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting question. So you see, obviously, that a lot more things. We just used to call them embedded systems, but now they're called things. Internet of Things. So they're getting connected. And that really changes mostly the scalability of attacks. So in the embedded world, obviously there's always security problems everywhere, right? It's just a matter of how bad are they and are they exploitable. If a device is not connected, it can still be broken, right? You just have to walk up to it and do some things with it. Now you can access that stuff through the internet. So that's really what the major change is here.
Okay. And so now I know that we are sitting at the Riscure North America headquarters, and you have another location in the Netherlands.
Yep.
What is the difference between this office and that office?
Well, first of all, about a 10 times size difference. So we have about 10 people there and about 100 people there. We also have an office in China, by the way, that we recently opened. Cool. So it's also about our size. Other than the size difference, obviously you get a bit different dynamics when you work with a small team or a larger team. We have pretty much the same toys as they do, just 10 times fewer. But that's fine, yeah. Okay,
and I can't help, I see a lot of cool stuff around here. Does the creative atmosphere make for a better workflow for you guys?
Oh yeah, it's critical. When you are dealing with security, you are inherently required to think outside of the box, because the in-the-box thinking, that's what your customers do. Right? So we are the ones who need to take that step back and think outside of the normal path. So I think your office and your environment needs to reflect that and needs to stimulate that as well.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And what would you say some of the benefits are to being in this area, in the Silicon Valley area in particular?
Lots of things. So first of all, some clients we literally walk to, which is great. But also going back to that creative atmosphere, this area is just buzzing, right? I remember the first time I landed here, and just driving around the area, you just see all the popular names of your clients just around you. things are happening. When I walked into a Starbucks, I hear people talking about different DRAM technologies there. I'm like, where did I land?
It's surreal.
yeah. But I'm, I my background is all about computers, so that it's surreal in a good way for me. Yeah.
Nice. Okay. And so, why should companies choose Riscure?
So I think we are really good at that out of the box thinking for them, and specifically also when you look at certification, we really try to help people to get to the point with security where they need to be. So with certification, that means you want to get your product up to a level where it can be certified. When you're talking about free-form evaluation, we really want to help these people to get better security. That's really what drives us as a company.
Wonderful. Okay. And so I heard that you also run an annual Capture the Flag contest as well. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah. So it's called the Riscure Hack Me Challenge. This year we have an automotive theme. Yeah. What it basically boils down to is a small embedded board with a number of challenges on it. Basically, it's a capture the flag, right? So you can once you solve the challenge, you can get the flags out. And what we try to do is we try to organize it in such a way that you need different kind of attack techniques to get to different challenges. Okay. So it's not just a logical attack, but you may have to do a side channel attack or a fault attack. So it really helps people to, play with their different attacks.
Cool. Okay.
Pretty fun.
How do you win?
Oh, get all the flags.
Is there a prize at the end, or the feeling of winning?
I think actually it's a very good question. I'm so much about the journey and not the goal, so
no, that's good.
Think about that.
And so my last question is, what do you love most about working at Riscure?
Ooh, that's a good one. Well, for me, personally, I just really feel at home here. Like, I like playing with technology. I like being myself. This is my suit. Nice. I tend to dress up for conferences a bit more than the office, but that really helps me enjoy this and just the creative atmosphere. Yeah, it's for me a perfect fit.
Wonderful, Jasper. Thank you so much for sitting down with me. Appreciate it. This episode was brought to you by Pentester Academy, the leader in online cybersecurity education. Join over 10,000 professionals from 90 countries to learn security online.